Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your first look into Adobe Illustrator. So this is the drawing program we're going to be using for the time being. Now there are a few things that we need to know before we get started working on projects here. All the fun stuff like the parts of the interface and the tools and all the great things like that. So I'm just going to take it from the top. And here is what Illustrator looks like, right here. First off, we just need to know how certain things are going to be saved here. So I'm going to go up to File and Save As. Now we are going to be saving files as exactly what you see here, Adobe Illustrator, which makes sense. And the file extension for that is .ai. But there are other file extensions we can save to. And the first time you save a project, you are going to want to make sure that it is in fact Adobe Illustrator that is selected and not this. So if you see this, you want to go ahead and change it to this. There's an important reason for that I'll get into later, but long story short, some pieces of your project could get messed up if this is selected. On some of your computers this might be selected automatically, so just be sure to look at it really closely and change it to this. Once it's set to .ai, it should be that from then on unless you change it. In the future we might save files as PDFs once in a while. If you do, you can then email the file to yourself or put it on your Google Drive, and you can actually look at a PDF file from any computer. So it doesn't need Illustrator for you to look at it. That's how you can save your artwork to look at at home if you'd like. PDF stands for Portable Document Format. It's a format that's portable. And anyway, moving on. So this part of the interface at the top of the screen is the menu bar. It gives us our basic options such as opening files, saving files, copying, pasting, a bunch of other things, but it has the important options, your basic options. On the left side of the screen, we have our toolbar. The toolbar lists, that's right, lists our tools. Now, if you think I'm going to go over every single one of them right now, well, then you are mistaken because I'm not. We are going to learn a couple of these tools for each project we do. We're going to start off by learning the selection and direct selection tools, and then in another project we might learn, well, we will learn eventually the blob brush and then the eyedropper eventually. We're going to be learning these tools one by one as we move along through Illustrator. Some of them we won't use, a lot of them we will. We're just going to be starting off with these arrows pretty much. Now, right here, right below where the menu bar is, we have the control bar. This bar changes depending on what tool we have selected. So I click the type tool, which allows us to type text, and now we can see options for font, size, we can make it bold, things like that. So that stuff wouldn't be there if I click the rectangle. Things disappear or things are added. Sometimes they don't change, but the bar can change. It seems to not be changing most of the time, but sometimes it does. Okay, so I click the artboard tool, which allows us to resize this area, and then the options bar did change that time. So some tools have no options or no additional options to go along with them, and some do. But that's the options bar. It gives us different options depending on what tool we have selected. Over on the right we see a lot of panels. That's what these things are called, different panels. So these things give us different options relating to color, different options relating to effects. So I guess we can summarize this by saying that the panels give us options relating to color, effects, and overall appearance. In fact, this panel right here is called the Appearance panel. We're going to be working with the Layers panel a lot, which is something that I'm not going to get into right now, but that's going to be a very important concept in both Illustrator and Photoshop. So you could say that the main purpose or the main purposes of these panels is to alter things like color, appearance, and how your project looks. We're going to be drawing a lot of stuff in this program. A lot of stuff with their own unique colors. I'm going to change this color to red. And I'm going to change this color to blue. How could I change two different colors? Because one is the fill color, which is the inside color of an object, and one is the outline, which is called the stroke in Illustrator. So the stroke is the outline color. So that's a term we should know. I increase the stroke size simply by clicking the up arrow here. So there are two color boxes. If you hover over this one, it says fill. If you hover over the right one, it says stroke. So that's why there are two color boxes. If we click this arrow, we can swap the fill and stroke colors. So now the fill is blue and the outline, or stroke, is red. So that's how we can change each of them. So two of the tools we're going to start off using, and one I'm using right now, is called the selection tool, and then there's the direct selection tool. Some people like to call it the DS. But in any case, the selection tool allows you to relocate objects, move them around, and resize them. So I moved it, I can resize. I can click and drag by any of these points to resize it. If I hold down Shift and click from one of the corner points, I can make it larger or smaller while keeping it proportional. That is, it won't get too skinny or too wide. Okay, that's going to be especially useful if you're working with pictures and you don't want to squish them. Maybe that might be more of a Photoshop thing, but it still works in Illustrator as well. So the direct selection tool allows you to drag and alter an individual point of a shape. So what do I mean by that? At first there doesn't seem to be any difference, but I'm going to take this point and stretch it out right now. I need to do that by holding Shift and clicking, and then let go. So don't click and drag immediately. When you hold Shift and click, it turns the point white. Then let go of Shift, and now I can click and drag that point any way I want. And once you do the holding Shift and clicking step, you don't have to do that again, or you shouldn't have to do that again. You can then go ahead and click and drag any point on this shape. Look at that, I made a boomerang-like object. That's pretty cool. So I took an ordinary rectangle and made a boomerang out of it. Yeah. So I can just kind of show that again. You want to hold down Shift and first select the direct selection tool. Hold down Shift and click. Let go of everything. And now I can click and drag. And I can click and drag any point once I do that. So that's how we can create unique shapes and unique objects through the use of that tool. Well, sometimes you have to be... Okay, so I guess I have to do the holding Shift and clicking thing again since it's not working. Sometimes it just doesn't work anymore and you have to do it again. In any case, we always have to remember to select the tool we want to work with. So like we might go ahead and draw a rectangle and then we might immediately go to drag it to the corner only for us to create another rectangle. We have to first go back to the selection tool. However, it may not be necessary for us to click the tool every time. In fact, if you look closely right here, beside the name of the tool is a letter. That letter is a keyboard shortcut. I won't require you to memorize every single one. In fact, I won't ask you to remember any of these really. Although I will ask you to remember things like Control S and, copying and pasting, Control C, and, Control V. Oh yeah, by the way, beside each menu item that has a keyboard shortcut for it, it displays the shortcut right there. So that's pretty cool. But if you do want to remember a quick way to select a tool without clicking on it, for example, the direct selection tool, just press the letter A and you'll switch right to it. Obviously, it doesn't work if you're typing something with the type tool, but if you're outside that tool, if you're not using it, it does work. Then I can switch to, just V by itself to switch to the selection tool. So yeah, we're going to be making use of that stuff and more for the first couple of things in Adobe Illustrator.